So this is the assignment which we have. It's a little different from the other assignments in that it doesn't have any drawing, nothing to model, but in its own right, it's just as important because this has to do with setting up COMOSYS the way you would like it to work every time you create a new model or you're working on a different model. And the point is that uh, everything is based on everything we model has defaults and presets and those kinds of settings, if you will. And what we want is that we don't want to change them every single time we create a new model. We want them to be saved away in our environments. So one of these sets which needs to be saved away, one of the defaults is the native object defaults. And what do we mean by native objects? We mean, for example, the steel column command, or the beam command, or the horizontal brace, or the vertical brace, or the truss, or the girth, or the purlin truss, or the concrete column and beam, for example, or the contour plate, which is the basis of all other plates as well, and the bolt command and the welcome. These are the native objects. And every time we create a new model in an environment, based on an environment, we perhaps want, for instance, we might want the column to be HEA 240 every time we start a new model. And we might want its height to be 3000. So we want to set up these commands so that they all work with a certain default every time we create a new model. So we just go through this exercise, and we will modify these defaults, and then we will find out the way how we actually then copy those defaults to the environment, so that every new model is then based on that. Now, before we begin doing that, I just want to do a quick recollection of this whole environment business. Now, in your installation, if you go under your program data directory, which is created by Windows, under that you will have a directory called Proya Software. And under the Proya Software directory, you will have your installation of COMOSYS. If you go to that directory, this is the structure which you will see. Now, over here, if you've installed it for the first time, you will have a folder called environments, and these are basically your factory environments. So let me double click on that. So you are, in this particular version, you are off the shelf provided with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 environments. But don't forget that these are factory environments, and you're not supposed to, let me repeat that, you're not supposed to modify these. So what do we do if we don't modify these? So what you do is you create clones of these environments. So for example, you could create a clone of the Australian environment. You could create a clone of the USA environment. You could create multiple clones of the USA environment, which is the factory one. You could actually create a clone of a clone of this environment as well. So the whole idea over here is that you begin everything by creating clones of, except for one which is already provided with the installation. The clone of the default environment is already provided, and I'll tell you where the clones reside. So this is the environments directory is where the factory settings are, and you're not supposed to touch them. But if you go one step up, go back to the COMOSYS installation directory, you will see that there's another directory called the company directory. And this is where all the modifications will take place. So what you do is you, like I said, you create clones of those environments. And if I double click on this one, you will see that there are several directories over here. The first one is actually a clone of the default directory, which will come with the installation. And the other ones I've created myself, and all three of these are clones of the USA environment. Now, you can create as many as you want. Like I said, you could create 10 different, because you might be working with different clients, and
Each client might have their own detailing styles and defaults and preferences, or connection defaults, and this whole topic is going to get pretty detailed. Basically, all the commands, all the macros, everything you have in COMOSYS will have its defaults, will have its presets, will have its behavior related files, and all of them are related to this environment directory over here. So what you do is you create clones, and I'm not going to show how you create a clone. There are separate videos for that. But I'm assuming that you know how to create a clone, and you've already created a clone. And when we say we're going to set the defaults for the model side native objects, what we mean is we're going to change those defaults in one of these cloned environments, not in the factory ones. We never touch the factory ones. We modify the ones we've cloned. And then those cloned and modified environments then become the basis of all subsequent models. So in our case, I'll be using the default. I'll be using a model based on the default environment, which itself has been cloned from the other default, factory default. And this is the one I'll be changing. So that if I make a change to this, then any subsequent new models which are based on this clone will come with the new defaults.
So let's get back to the assignment and just go over it one more time. So we've been told to change the defaults for some of these. You can try all of these. It's basically the same procedure. So the purpose of the tutorial is to get you used to it. So the column, the beam, the horizontal brace, vertical brace, truss, skirt, etc., purlins. Similarly, the concrete columns and beams, the contour plate, the bolt, and the weld. So let's go to the model. And the way we start with this procedure is whenever we want to change defaults, we open a new model. You can give it any name you want. And in this new model, you save it, and then you start changing the defaults. So for example, let's change the default of the seal column command. Now to change that, what you do is you click on the shift key and then click on the column command. When you do that, this default column settings will open up, and you can change this. So for example, let's call it 240, HEA 240, and let's change the default column height to 3000, like that, and say apply, and then say set as default. Now when you do that, it will change the default for this command in this particular model only. So just keep that in mind. Every default that we are changing is only being changed in this particular model. Let's do one more thing. Let's go back into the column command and also change the default material. Okay, so material looks okay. We don't have to change it. Maybe if there's anything you want to change over here, you can just change it and click on apply and set as default and okay. Then go to the beam, for example, and the material is there. This is the one I want. I want, let's say, IBE 240 as the standard section which I want to come, and I just say set as default, and that'll be the end of it as far as the beam is concerned. Perhaps for horizontal bracing, if I press the shift key and open it, I see that it's an angle 60 by 6. Maybe I want a different profile. I can go to my profiles. Maybe I want a circular hollow section, maybe 60 by 3 by 3.2. Select that, and I say apply, and I say set as default. So now from in this model, my default horizontal bracing will be that profile. Let's go back in again and see if we've changed the material as well. Yeah, the material is there. We can change, like I said, any other thing which we want to change as well. We can do the same with the vertical bracing. The material is okay. I can go in and change the angle to maybe another pipe section, maybe slightly bigger, maybe 114 by 3 by 4. Apply, set as default. Okay, that one is also, and I can continue doing all this all the way till the others, till the girts and purlins. Now, We can also do the same for the plate, for the contour plate, mind you. If you remember, the assignment also clarifies this, that do not try to set the defaults for sectional plates and folded plates and cylindrical bent plates. They are macros built on the contour plate. So we'll only be changing the default for the contour plate. So let's press the shift key and open that. Maybe we want the default thickness to be 10 millimeters rather than 20. Apply, and then maybe we want, okay, the material looks okay. Maybe we want to give it a name, the default to be plate, just plate maybe. We say apply, and maybe we want the default color to be maybe this color, like that. Apply, and then we can just say set as default, and that would set the default for plates. We can do the same for bolts. We can go to the bolt command, press on the shift key, open it up, and maybe we can choose the default diameter and the default assembly from here. So right now it's 8.8 bolt. Maybe, okay, I can just keep that. Maybe that's fine. Maybe M20 is fine as well. The tolerance, I want 2 millimeters default for the M20 bolt. I can just give it a name of bolt. Furthermore, I can go to my positions and 0 to 60 in the X direction, and maybe -50 and 100 in the Y direction. Apply, and maybe set that as default. And once I'm happy with all that, I just say apply, set as default, like we did, and right click to end. I can go to my concrete, I can go to my weld command, for example, click on the shift key to open the default settings. So this would be a 3 millimeter one-sided fillet weld. I'm okay with that. I don't want to change that. The default material is E60XX. I don't want to change that as well. So that's fine. I can just say apply, set as default. And I can finally go to my concrete and go to the column, press the shift key. So it's a 500 by 500. Maybe I can make it 400 by 400 as the default one. And instead of 5 meters, I can make it 3 meters once again. Say apply, say set as default, okay, and do something similar with the beam as well. It's 300 by 500, maybe that's okay. I can go to the material, see if the material is okay for me. That's fine. I can just leave. So now that I'm okay with all the defaults which I want, and they're all stored away in this model, now comes the time when I need to do something to make sure that my subsequent models come with these defaults. So I need to put that, whatever file it is, in my in relevant environment folder. So let's go to the assignment. It actually explains that as well. First of all, it reminds us that we need, after we've done with everything, we need to save and close the project and then reopen the project again, because the defaults are actually only written to the relevant file when the project file is closed. So if you just press on the save button, that the associated default file will not be saved. So we need to close the project and reopen it, and then when it's closed, then it gets saved. And then the file is actually called the model default objects.def file, and it resides under your preferences directory of your model. Right? This is all we want to know. The model default objects file, which resides under the preferences directory. And then we'll just copy it and move it to the relevant folder of the cloned environment. So let's go back to the model. This button over here will open the preferences folder. And when you click on it, it says, do you want to open the preferences folder of the local, local means the model itself, or the company cloned folder. When it says company, it means the folder of the cloned environment on which this particular model is based. So right now I want to go to the local one. So I click on that, and we see that this is the preferences directory. And in the preferences directory, we see this file, the model default objects file. This was the name we saw in the assignment as well. And it's right under the preferences directory. So we just select that and we say right click and we say copy. We just copy that file. We close this folder and we go back to the same button. And this time, instead of the local, we choose the company one. So it's going to copy that. It's going to take us to the company folder. So we need to show that we're under the preferences directory. This is the cloned environment. And over here, we just come over here and right click and we say paste. And it's going to say replace the file because that file already exists in the cloned environment. So we just say replace the file in the destination. And that will basically copy that file to the cloned environment. And we can just close that. Now, actually, what the mistake we've made is what we just talked about. In fact, so we'll have to do it again. If you go to the assignment, it says that we cannot do this until we first close the project. So we didn't do that, so we'll have to do it again. What we need to do is we need to save the project at this point, and then close it. And by closing, I mean you can just go and choose any other project, basically, so that this project gets closed. We need to do that. So we open another project, the other one gets closed, and that's all we need to do, really. We can just immediately go back and reopen the other one again. All we needed to do was just close it, because it's only when we close the project that the file gets written on. So we'll have to redo what we did. Do you want to save this one? No. We just open it. Open the file again now. And now we go back to the local directory. Now, if we see this, the timestamp is also new. We just select this file once again, copy it, close this one, go back to the company folder, and come over here, right click and say paste, replace the file in destination. Basically what we did a while ago, but we did it without actually closing the project, so it wasn't saved. Close this, and now we're basically done. Now let's see whether what we did actually worked or not. So we can now create a new project. Let's call it new test 2, like that. It should be based on the cloned environment which we just modified. So this is the default one, was the one we modified, and we just say create. You want to save this project? I can say yes or no, doesn't matter. And the new one is now being opened. And what I want to check is whether the defaults have changed. So let's enter a column, for example. Let's enter a column over here. And you can immediately see that it's different from the normal default. It's 3 meters in height, and the section is HEA 240. Let's do the same for another column over there and try entering a beam as well. Let's enter the beam from there to there. And we'll see that this one is now, instead of IPE 300, which was the default earlier, it's IPE 240. Everything else seems to be okay. Now let's enter a vertical brace, for example. Let's go like that, and like that. And previously, normally it would come out as an angle, but now it's coming out as a pipe profile, exactly the way we modified it. Now we can try entering a little plate. So let's just go in there and hover over this point, press enter and say at R500 by 500 just to create a rectangular plate. Immediately you can tell that the color of the plate is the one we had chosen. And if you double click on it, the thickness is also 10 millimeters. So that default has been changed as well. We can go in on the bolt command, press the shift key to see what the settings are. We can come in over here. You see that the bolt tolerance has been changed, the name has been changed, the positions are now the positions I had set. So basically I have managed to change the defaults of all my if I wanted to. I didn't do the girts and the purlins. You can do that, but from now on in your company, whoever uses this environment to create a new project, these defaults will be used, and that was the purpose of this assignment.